The morning sun rose over the colony of New Eden like it had for the past 10 years. Father Daywan stepped out of his small wooden church and breathed in the fresh air. The planet Kepler 442b was a beautiful world. Green grass covered the rolling hills. Clear streams ran through the valleys. It was a good place to start over. Daywan was 52 years old. His black hair was now gray at the sides. Lines marked his face from years of smiling at his people. He had come to this world when it was just empty land and big dreams. Now, 2,000 humans called it home. "Good morning, Father," called out Kim Sunhai from her vegetable garden. She was hanging wet clothes on a line outside her house. "Good morning, Sunhee," Daywan replied with a warm smile. "How is little Jiho feeling today?" "Much better, thanks to you," she said. "That medicine you got from the Varathri healers worked perfectly." Daywan nodded and continued his morning walk through the town. The humans had built their homes from local wood and stone, simple but strong. Each house had a small garden where families grew their food. Children played in the streets. Their laughter filled the air. But the humans were not alone on this world. The Varathri had lived here for thousands of years. They looked like giant insects with 4 arms and shiny green skin. At first, the humans had been scared of them. The Varathri had been scared of the humans too. But Daywan had worked hard to bring both groups together. He spoke their clicking language. He learned their customs, helped sick Varathri children just like he helped human children. Slowly, trust grew between the two peoples. "Father Daywan," called a voice from behind him. He turned to see Krikta, one of the Varathri elders. The alien's forearms moved as he spoke in his clicking speech. "Hello, my friend," Daywan said in the Varathri language. "What brings you to town so early?" "Bad news comes from the sky," Krikta clicked nervously. "Our scouts see many ships, big ships, warships." Daywan felt his stomach tighten. For 10 years, New Eden had been peaceful. They were far from the main space routes. Most of the galaxy forgot they existed. That was how they liked it. "How many ships?" Daywan asked. "More than stars in the sky," Krikta replied. "They come fast. They'll be here when the sun reaches the middle of the sky." Daywan looked up at the morning sun. That gave them maybe 4 hours. "Thank you for the warning, old friend," Daywan said. "Please tell your people to stay in the deep caves until we know what these visitors want." Krikta nodded and hurried away on his 6 legs. Daywan walked quickly to the town center. He rang the big bell that hung outside the community hall. The sound echoed across the valley. People came out of their houses. They knew the bell meant important news. Within minutes, 200 people stood in the square. Men, women, and children all looked at their priest with worried faces. "Friends," Daywan said in a loud, clear voice, "ships are coming to our world. We do not know what they want, but we must be ready." "Are they human ships?" asked Park Minwoo, the town's elected leader. "We do not know yet," Daywan replied. "We must hope for the best, but prepare for trouble." The people began to talk all at once. Some wanted to hide in the mountains. Others wanted to send a message to Earth, asking for help. But Earth was 6 months away, even with the fastest ships. "Please everyone stay calm," Daywan said. "We have built a good life here. We have made friends with the Varathri. We have shown that different peoples can live together in peace. Whatever comes, we will face it together." 3 hours later, the sky turned dark. Massive ships blocked out the sun. They were bigger than anything the humans had ever seen, black metal covered in spikes and weapons. The ships looked like they were built for war and nothing else. One ship landed in the field outside town. It was smaller than the others, but still huge. The ground shook when it touched down. A door opened in the side of the ship. Smoke poured out. Then they came. The aliens were tall and covered in dark red scales. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but their heads looked like lizards. Yellow eyes, sharp teeth, claws instead of fingers. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Behind them walked their leader. He was bigger than the others. Scars covered his face and arms. Black cape hung from his shoulders. Gold decorations marked his chest, The alien leader stopped in front of the crowd of humans. When he spoke, his voice was deep and harsh. "I am General Vexstar of the Macdor Empire," he said in perfect human language. "This world now belongs to us. You have 72 hours to leave. Take nothing but the clothes you wear. Any who remain will be killed." The humans stood in shocked silence. This was their home. They had worked for 10 years to build it. They could not just leave everything behind. Park Minwoo stepped forward. His voice shook, but he tried to sound brave. "General, we have done nothing wrong. We have lived in peace here. We have rights under galactic law." ... General Vexstar raised his weapon. A beam of red light shot out. Park Minwoo screamed once, then turned to ash. The wind scattered his remains. Women and children began to cry. Men stepped back in fear. The Macdor soldiers laughed. "Does anyone else wish to discuss galactic law?" General Vexstar asked. Father Day Wan stepped forward. His legs felt weak, but his voice was steady. "I will speak for my people," he said. General Vexstar looked down at the human priest. You are just an old man in a black dress. I'm Father Day Wan. These people trust me to speak for them. Please, General, show mercy. We have children here, old people. Where can we go in 72 hours? Our nearest human world is months away." The Macdor general smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "That is not my problem, priest. We need this world for our war fleet. Your people are in the way." "Then let us help you," Daewon said. "We know this world well. We can work together. Humans are good with technology. We can build what you need." "Work together?" General Vexstar laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Humans are weak. You talk of peace and mercy. Such things make you slaves, not partners." "Please," Daewon said. "If you must have this world, at least spare the Vrothari. They were here first. They've done nothing to harm you. The insects will die with you," General Vexstar said. "I do not leave enemies behind me." Daewon felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger would not save his people. "Then take me instead," he said. "Kill me and let the others live. Let them have time to leave properly." General Vexstar studied the priest with his yellow eyes. "You would die for these people, yes," Daewon said without hesitation. "Interesting," the general said. "Very well, priest. You have given me an idea." General Vexstar spoke to one of his soldiers in their harsh language. The soldier activated a device, Daewon realized. It was recording everything. "People of the human worlds," General Vexstar said to the device, "watch what happens to those who defy the Macdor Empire." He raised his weapon and pointed it at Father Daewon's chest. Daewon closed his eyes. He thought of his people, thought of the Vrothari children he had helped heal, thought of the beautiful sunrises over New Eden. "Any last words, priest?" General Vexstar asked. Daewon opened his eyes and looked directly into the recording device. His voice was calm and clear. "Forgive them," he said, "for they know not what they do." The red beam fired. Father Daewon vanished in a flash of light. General Vexstar turned off the recording device. "Send this message to every human world," he told his soldier. "Let them see what happens to their holy men." The Macdor soldiers returned to their ship. It lifted off and rejoined the fleet in orbit. The people of New Eden stood in the field where their priests had died. Some cried, some prayed. Some just stared at the empty space where Father Daewon had been. Above them, the alien warships waited. Like dark clouds before a storm, far away on Earth, Director Soman of the Terran Defense Council received the message. She watched the recording with growing horror. Around the world, billions of humans saw the same thing. Father Daewon's last words echoed across human space. "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." But forgiveness was not what burned in human hearts that day. The Macdor Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had just given humanity something it had not had in 50 years, a reason to go to war. Director Solomon sat in her office at the Terran Defense Council headquarters. The building stood tall in the center of New Geneva, Earth's capital city. Through her window, she could see protesters filling the streets below. They carried signs with Father Daewon's picture. He demanded justice. So Min was 45 years old. She had short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Before becoming a diplomat, she had been a soldier. She knew what war looked like. She also knew that sometimes war was the only choice left. The door to her office opened. Admiral Tejo walked in. He was a big man with gray hair and old scars on his hands. He had fought in 3 wars and never lost a battle. "The entire council is here," Admiral Tejo said. "They're waiting for you." Soman nodded and followed him down the hall. They entered a large room with a round table. 12 people sat around. These were the leaders of humanity's military forces. They represented every human world and colony. "Ladies and gentlemen," Salman said as she took her seat, "you have all seen the message from the Maktar Empire. They've murdered an innocent priest in cold blood. They threatened to kill 2,000 colonists. What do we do about it?" General Lee Sang-ho from the Mars colonies spoke first. "We must send the fleet immediately. Show these aliens that humans do not bend to threats." "What ships?" asked Admiral Chenwei from the Outer Rim territories. "The Maktar Empire controls 47 star systems. They have 500 warships. We have maybe 100 ships, spread across 30 worlds." "Numbers are not everything," General Lee replied. "Human technology is better. Our soldiers fight harder." "Tell that to the families of dead soldiers," Admiral Chen said coldly. Salman raised her hand for silence. "Admiral Tejo, what does Fleet Command recommend?" The old admiral looked uncomfortable. "Director, a direct attack would be suicide. The Maktar have us outnumbered 5-1. Even if we won, we would lose half our fleet. That would leave Earth defenseless against other enemies." "So we do nothing?" Soman asked. "We let them kill our people?" "We negotiate," suggested Ambassador Park Janae from the diplomatic corps. "Perhaps we can offer them something they want more than one small colony." "They do not want to negotiate," Soman said. "They want to show the galaxy that humans are weak, that anyone can kill us without consequences." The room fell silent. Everyone knew she was right. But what could they do? Admiral Tejo cleared his throat. "There might be another way," he said quietly. All eyes turned to him. 20 years ago, we had a special operations program called Project Pale Rider. It was classified above top secret. Only 5 people knew about it. "What kind of program?" Soman asked. "Well, I took our best soldiers and trained them for impossible missions, deep cover, solo operations behind enemy lines, assassination of high-value targets." Admiral Tejo paused. "Only one operative completed the full training." "Where is this operative now?" General Lee asked. "Officially? Dead? Killed?" "In action during the Centauri Rebellion." Admiral Tejo looked around the table. "Unofficially? That is classified." Salman leaned forward. "Admiral, we need to know everything. Now." Admiral Tejo nodded slowly. His name was Commander Du-Hyeon Kim. Codename, the Ghost of Titan. He was the perfect soldier. Fast, smart, deadly. He could infiltrate any base, kill any target, and disappear like smoke. "What happened to him?" Soman asked. "He won the Centauri Rebellion single-handedly. Killed every rebel leader in 3 months, but the things he had to do, ... they changed him. He requested discharge from active duty. We gave him a new identity and let him disappear." "Can you find him?" Soman asked. "Maybe, but, Director, you need to understand something. Du-Hyeon is not just a soldier. He is a weapon. Once we point him at the Maktar Empire, there will be no stopping him. No mercy, no prisoners. He will not just defeat them, he will destroy them completely." Salman thought about Father Daewon's last words. "Forgive them," he had said. But some acts were too evil to forgive. "Find him," she ordered. 3 days later, Admiral Teo's ship approached a small asteroid mining station in the Vegas system. The station was old and dirty. Maybe 50 people lived there, digging rare metals from floating rocks. Admiral Tejo docked his personal shuttle and walked through the station's narrow corridors. The air smelled of oil and sweat. Workers in dirty clothes barely looked at him. As he passed, he found the man he was looking for in the engine room. The worker was tall and lean with strong arms. His black hair was longer now and touched with gray. He wore simple work clothes and had grease on his hands. But Admiral Tejo recognized those eyes, sharp and dark like a hunting hawk's. Lo. Du Haiyan, the admiral said quietly. The man looked up from the engine he was fixing. For a moment, his face showed no emotion. Then he smiled sadly. I go by Wu Jin now, he said. Wu Jin Park. Just a simple mechanic. I know what you call yourself. But I also know who you really are. Du Haiyan set down his tools and wiped his hands on a rag. What do you want, Admiral? I have been dead for 20 years. Dead men do not fight wars. The galaxy needs the ghost of Titan one more time. No, Du Haiyan said firmly. I told you when I left. Never again. I've seen enough. Death. Admiral Tejo pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared in the air between them, showed Father Dewan standing in front of the Mactor General. They murdered a priest, Admiral Tejo said, in cold blood, in front of children. They broadcast it to every human world as a threat. Du Haiyan watched the recording without speaking. His face remained calm. But Admiral Tejo saw his hands slowly curl into fists. Forgive them, for they know not what they do, Father Dewan said in the recording. Then the red beam fired, and he was gone. Du Haiyan stared at the empty space where the hologram had been. For a long time, he said nothing. How many ships do they have? He finally asked. 500? Maybe more? How many worlds do they control? 47 star systems. Du Haiyan nodded slowly. And you want me to stop them? One man against an empire. You have done it before. That was different. The Centauri rebels were human. They made human mistakes. They thought like humans. Du Haiyan looked at Admiral Tejo. These Mactor are aliens. Do not know how they think. You will learn. You will always do. Du Haiyan walked to a small window and looked out at the stars. If I do this, it will not be clean. It will not be quick. I will have to become something terrible, I know. The man you are asking me to be again? He is not a good man, Admiral. He is a killer. A ghost that haunts nightmares. Once I let him out, innocent people might die too. And if you do nothing, 2,000 colonists will die for certain. Then the Mactor will attack other human worlds. How many innocents will die then? Du Haiyan closed his eyes. In his mind he saw Father Dewan's face. The priest had died trying to save his people. He had offered his own life to spare others. What do you need me to do? Du Haiyan asked. Complete eradication of Mactor command structure, Admiral Tejo said. Cut off. The head and the body will die. All of them. All of them. Du Haiyan turned away from the window. When he looked at Admiral Tejo again, his eyes had changed. They were colder now, darker, the eyes of a predator. I will need a ship, something fast and invisible, already prepared. The stealth corvette Silent Prayer is waiting for you at Luna Base. Silent Prayer. Du Haiyan almost smiled. Someone has a sense of humor. The ship is named after the priest they killed. I thought it was fitting. Du Haiyan nodded. I will need intelligence on Mactor fleet movements. Supply lines, command structure, everything you have. It is all waiting for you, along with your old equipment. And after this is over, Commander Du Haiyan Kim will be dead again. Wu Jin Park can go back to fixing engines. Du Haiyan picked up his tools and put them away carefully. He had been a simple mechanic for 20 years. He'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be a soldier. Almost, Admiral, he said, as they walked toward the docking bay. The Mactor general who killed the priest? Vexstar. I want him for last. Any particular reason? Du Haiyan's voice was quiet and cold. He needs to know that his empire is burning because of what he did to one good man. Admiral Tejo felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered now why they had called Du Haiyan the Ghost of Titan. It was not just because he was hard to catch. It was because he was the thing that monsters feared in the dark. The Mactor Empire had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were fighting humans. They were about to learn they had awakened something much worse. Death itself was coming for them, and death had a name. Du Haiyan Kim. The stealth corvette Silent Prayer moved through space like a shadow. Its black hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it. No radar could see it. No sensors could track it. It was invisible death floating among the stars. Commander Du Haiyan sat in the pilot's chair. He wore his old combat suit, black armor that moved like a second skin. His weapons were simple but deadly. A plasma rifle, energy blades, small explosives. Tools he knew how to use very well. On the screen in front of him was Lieutenant Sheen Lee. She was 28 years old, with bright eyes and short hair. She worked for Terran intelligence back on Earth. She would be his contact during the mission. Commander, we have located your first target, Eugen said. Rigel Station. It is a major supply depot for the Mactor fleet. Destroying it will hurt their ability to fight. Duhayan studied the station on his screen. It was huge, bigger than a city. Thousands of Mactor soldiers lived and worked there. It had heavy shields and many weapons. How many civilians? Duhayan asked. None. It is purely military, Eugen replied. Commander, are you sure you can do this alone? The station has over 10,000 defenders. Duhayan's face showed no emotion. I do not plan to fight 10,000 soldiers, Lieutenant. I plan to make them fight each other. 2 days later, Duhayan floated outside Rigel Station in a small space. Suit. The silent prayer waited far away, hidden behind an asteroid. He carried only a small pack of equipment and his weapons. The station's hull was covered with maintenance hatches. Duhayan found one and used his tools to open it quietly. He slipped inside like smoke. The corridors were filled with Mactor soldiers. They were tall and strong with red scales and sharp claws. Their weapons could cut through steel. But they had never fought anyone like Duhayan. He moved through the station's air ducts and service tunnels. Places too small for the big Mactor soldiers to follow. He studied their patrol routes. He learned their habits. He waited for the right moment. Then he struck. The first target was the station's communication center. Duhayan dropped from a ceiling. Vent behind 2 guards. They died before they could scream. He hacked into their computer system and sent false messages to different parts of the station. Sector 7 has been invaded by human forces, one message said. Sector 12 reports enemy soldiers in the armory, said another. All units respond to security breach in the command center, said a third. The Mactor soldiers began running through the station in panic. They shot at shadows and empty corridors. In the confusion, Duhayan moved like a ghost. He sabotaged life support systems, planted explosives in key locations. He left small metal crosses made from the station's own walls. The Mactor began, calling him the Death Shadow. General Vexstar received reports of the attack while sitting in his flagship. He slammed his clawed fist on the table when he heard about Rigel Station. How many humans attacked? He demanded. Double quotes. We. It. We do not know, General, his aide replied nervously. Maybe one, maybe many. They leave no bodies. They make no sound. Are like ghosts? One human destroyed an entire supply station? Vexstar roared. Impossible. But it was not impossible. It was just the beginning. Over the next month, Duhayan struck 12 more Mactor installations. Each attack was different, but the result was always the same. Total destruction. Who could describe what they had seen? Lieutenant Eugen watched the reports from Earth with growing horror and amazement. Duhayan was destroying the Mactor Empire piece by piece. But his methods were brutal beyond anything she had imagined. Commander, she said during one of their communications, the Mactor are starting to turn on each other. Some of their commanders are blaming others for the failures. They are executing their own officers. Good, Duhayan replied coldly. Fear makes them weak. Weak enemies make mistakes. But, Commander, some of the things you are doing, are they necessary? Could we not find another way? Duhayan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was tired. Dinanit, do you know what Father Dewan said to me once? You knew him? I met him years ago on Terra Nova. He was a young priest then, helping war refugees. He told me that every life was precious, that even soldiers had souls worth saving. Duhayan paused. He was a better man than I will ever be. Why? You doing this? Because sometimes good men need monsters to protect them? Father Dewan died trying to save his people with words and mercy. I will save them with blood and fear. The climax came when Duhayan infiltrated the Mactor dreadnought Blood of Conquest. It was their most powerful warship. Admiral Gorthok, General Vextar S., second in command, was holding a meeting with 12 sector commanders. Duhayan hung from the ceiling above the meeting room. Through a small hole, he could see the Mactor officers arguing below. "The Death Shadow has destroyed half our supply network," one commander said. "We must retreat and regroup." "Retreat?" Admiral Gorthak snarled. "We are the Mactor Empire. Do not retreat from one human." "Then what do you suggest?" another commander asked. "We make the humans pay. For every base they destroy, we kill 1,000 human civilians. Let them see the cost of defying us." Duhayan had heard enough. He dropped through the ceiling into the middle of the meeting. The Mactor officers reached for their weapons, but Duhayan was faster. His energy blades cut through the room like lightning. In 30 seconds, all 12 commanders were dead. Only Admiral Gorthok remained. He was bigger and stronger than the others. His claws were longer. His teeth were sharper. "So you are the Death Shadow," he growled. "You are smaller than I expected." "Size does not matter," Duhayan replied. "Only skill." They fought across the meeting room. Gorthak was powerful but clumsy. Duhayan was smaller but faster. The Admiral's claws missed him by inches. Duhayan's blade found its target. Before he died, Admiral Gorthok gasped out a question. "Why? Why do you hate us so much?" Duhayan knelt beside the dying alien. "You killed a good man, a holy man. A man who only wanted peace." He placed a small metal cross on the Admiral's chest. "This is for Father Day One." General Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship and screamed in rage. Half his empire was in ruins. His best commanders were dead. His soldiers were afraid to leave their bases, all because of one human. General, his aide said nervously, "Perhaps we should negotiate with the humans, like peace before." Vextar grabbed the aide by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "Peace with the species that sent this demon to hunt us." He threw the aide across the room. "No, we will show them that the Mactor Empire does not bow to anyone." Vextar called his remaining fleet commanders. "We return to the human colony world, the place where this all began. We'll use the colonists as bait. When the Death Shadow comes to save them, we will be ready." The Mactor fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for Kepler 44 to be. But Duhayan was already there. The silent prayer landed in a forest near New Eden colony. Duhayan stepped out and breathed the planet's clean air. It reminded him of Earth, of home, of the life he had left behind. Captain Minho Park waited for him with a rescue ship called No Soul. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and gentle hands. "Commander," Captain Minho said, "we have been evacuating the colonists for 3 days. Most are safe now, but some refuse to leave. Why? They want to fight. They say this is their home." Duhayan walked through the empty streets of New Eden. Some houses were dark and abandoned. Others still had lights in the windows. He could hear voices inside, people talking quietly, children asking why they had to leave. At the center of town stood Father Day One's church. It was a simple wooden building with a bell tower. The door was open. Inside, Duhayan found a woman kneeling at the altar. She was about 30 years old with long black hair. She wore simple clothes and held prayer beads in her hands. "Sister Yunji Dohian," said quietly. She looked up at him. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was strong. "He must be the one they call the Ghost of Titan." "I am. I have come to evacuate the remaining colonists." "And then what? You will fight the Mactor alone?" "Yes." Sister Yunji stood up and faced him. "Father, Day One would not have wanted this. He believed in forgiveness. In mercy, Father Day One is dead. Mercy did not save him. No, but his words are still alive. His message of peace still matters." Duhayan felt something stir in his chest, an old pain he had tried to forget. "Sister, I am not a good man. I am a killer. I have done terrible things." "Then why are you here? Why risk your life for strangers?" Duhayan looked around the small church. He saw the simple wooden cross behind the altar. He remembered Father Day One's last words. "Because someone has to," he said finally. Sister Yunji smiled sadly. "That sounds like something Father Day One would have said." The Mactor fleet arrived 6 hours later. 50 warships filled the sky. Above New Eden, General Vextar's flagship landed in the same field where Father Day One had died. Vextar stepped out with 100 soldiers. He looked around the empty town and smiled. "Death Shadow," he roared. "I know you are here. Come face me like a warrior, not a coward hiding in shadows." Duhayan walked out of the church. He carried no weapons. His hands were empty. "Here I am," he said calmly. General Vextar laughed. "You are smaller than I expected, and you come unarmed. Have you lost your mind?" "I come in peace," Duhayan said. "Your empire is broken. Your commanders are dead. Your soldiers are afraid. In this now, and no more will die. Peace, your star." Spat on the ground. "After what you have done to my people, never. Then you choose death." The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Duhayan moved like lightning. His hidden weapons appeared in his hands as if by magic. He cut through Mactor's soldiers like wheat before a blade. But there were too many. Even Duhayan could not fight forever. Just when it seemed he would fall, help arrived. The remaining colonists charged from their hiding places. They had simple weapons, hunting rifles and farming tools. But they fought with the fury of people defending their homes. Sister Yunji ran between the fighters, helping wounded humans and Mactar alike. "Stop!" she cried. "This is not what Father Day One wanted." General Vextar and Duhayan faced each other in the ruins of the church. Both were wounded and tired. "You fight well for a human," Vextar admitted, "but it changes nothing. My empire may fall, but you will die with it." "Your empire was already falling," Duhayan replied. "You attacked us out of weakness, not strength. You killed Father Day One because you were afraid." "Afraid? Of what? Of peace? Of the example he was setting? Of a galaxy where different species could live together without war?" Vextar raised his weapon for the final strike, but he hesitated when he saw something in Duhayan's eyes. Not hatred. Not anger. Pity. Double quotes, "I offer you one last chance," Duhayan said. "Surrender. Call off your fleet. Let your people live." For a moment, Vextar almost lowered his weapon. Pride was stronger than wisdom. "I am Mactar," he roared. "I do not surrender." He fired his weapon. Duhayan rolled aside and struck back. General Vextar fell among the ruins of the church where Father Day One had preached peace. News of General Vextar's death spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Mactor Empire collapsed within days. Some worlds declared independence. Others joined the Human Alliance. The threat that had seemed so terrible was gone. Duhayan stood. In the ruins of New Eden's church, Sister Yunji knelt beside General Vextar's body, praying for his soul. Even in death, she showed the mercy that Father Day One had taught. "It is finished," Lieutenant Yujin said. She had come to the planet with the rescue fleet. "The war is over." "No," Duhayan replied quietly. "The killing is over. But wars leave scars that take years to heal." Director Soman arrived on the next transport. She found Duhayan sitting alone in the church, staring at the simple wooden cross. "Commander," she said, "the Terran Defense Council wants to give you any position you choose. Admiral, General, whatever you want." "I want to disappear again," Duhayan said. Wujin Park was a simple mechanic. He was happy. The galaxy needs the ghost of Titan. The galaxy needs protectors, not killers. Duhayan stood up and walked to the altar. There are human missionaries and aid workers scattered across dozens of worlds. They work in dangerous places, helping people who have nothing. They need someone to watch over them. Salman understood.
Out me.
"You want to be their guardian?" Father Day One believed that every life was precious. "Maybe I can honor his memory by protecting those who try to save lives instead of taking them." 6 months later, Duhayan stood on a platform overlooking a valley on the world of New Hope. Sister Yunji had built a new colony here, not just for humans, but for all species. Former Mactor soldiers worked alongside human farmers. Vrathri healers taught their medicine to anyone who wanted to learn. The dedication ceremony for the colony's first temple was beginning. Representatives from a dozen species had come to celebrate. At the center of the temple's altar sat a small cross made from the native stone of Kepler 44 to be a reminder of the man who had died for peace. Major Yujin Li stood beside Du Heian. She had been promoted for her work during the war. Now she served as his liaison officer, coordinating protection for human aid workers across the galaxy. "Do you think he would be proud?" she asked, gesturing toward the temple. Du Heian watched as children of different species played together in the valley below. Their laughter echoed off the mountains. "I think he would be amazed," Du Heian replied. "Father Daewon always said that love was stronger than hate. Forgiveness was more powerful than revenge." He paused. "It took me a long time to understand what he meant, and now I know that the greatest victory is not destroying your enemies, it is turning them into friends." As the sun set over New Hope, Du Heian felt something he had not experienced. In 20 years, peace. Not the peace of an empty battlefield, but the peace of a job well done. The peace of knowing that Father Daewon's sacrifice had not been in vain. The priest had planted a seed with his dying words. That seed had grown into something beautiful, a galaxy where different species could live together without fear. I'm what persona with. Du Heian would make sure it stayed that way. The ghost of Titan was dead, but the guardian of New Hope had just been born. In the temple, Sister Yunji began the evening prayer. Her words carried on the wind, reaching every corner of the valley. "Forgive them, for they know not what they do. But help them learn, help them grow, help them find the path to peace." The words of a martyred priest echoed across the stars, carried by those who remembered that mercy was not weakness. It was the strongest force in the universe.